Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic which it stands, one nation. I'm going to report out on action taken in closed session. In fact-finding hearing conducted by administrative review in case number 22-23/02.
Yeah.
Motion made by board member Mr. Bazar and seconded by board member Mr. Rivas. It is moved that the Board of Education find there's cause to expel student number 22789 from all schools in the district for violation of education code. We are following the panel's recommendation. And it was 5A, ayes, no nays. In fact-finding hearing conducted by administrative review in case number 22-23/01, motion by board member Mr. Rivas, seconded by board member Mr. Bazar. It's moved that the Board of Education find there's cause to expel student number 22198 from all schools in the district for violation of education code, and we are following the panel recommendation with 5 ayes and no nays. Any person wishing to comment on agenda and non-agenda items may do so. Please step to the podium and state your name. It would be appreciated if you would limit your comment to 3 minutes. California law prohibits the school board from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the board. For board policy BB 9323, individual speakers may be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board may limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. So do I have anyone that would like to come to the podium and speak to the board? No one? Okay. Okay, I need an approval for the agenda.
I'll make that.
Did you get that? Okay, information and discussion. What? You have to. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, information and discussion items. The 37th Annual Occupational Olympics Finalist Video Game Design.
So we were proud to have our video game design team from Temple High School finish second at the Occupational Olympics, and representatives are here tonight to take you through their game. I believe I emailed you the link if you wish to play it. Didn't spend too much of my workday. I did playing it, and I got stuck. So it's a tough game, and we got it on the screen here for you. But if you like to come to the podium and kind of take it through the process, and if you have a visual display, it could probably sit next to Mr. Smith there nicely. Introduce yourselves and then take us through your presentation.
Hi, my name is Rafael Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel Sampson.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Aguilar.
Hello, my name is Lena Franco Rodriguez.
And this is our game, Billy. And as you can see, we are also dressed similarly in a comfy uniform. May I ask if you can reload the game? There should be some change, like the whole page. Thank you. So this is Billy, and our game was inspired by like Mario type platformers and stuff like that. And so we were able to compete against some really tough competitors using some scarier, more detailed graphics like this. But we find our charm in our little Billy here, who's able to go into his toy box and has to escape.
The story behind it is that Billy is a little boy who wakes up in the middle of the night, and his goal is to, in the night, he like hears a little noise basically coming from his toy box, and then he goes towards it, and it ends up falling inside of it, and now he has to get out of it.
If I can make one more request, is to turn up the sound because there is some noises there. We add sound effects into the game.
Okay. Hey, so actually I was behind the designing like the art, right? So what it took to like make it, honestly, I had to go back to my media, like introduction to media arts class for like the running animation as you see in the jumping and all that stuff. And since we as a team concurred that we wanted like a cute little character, like a simple art style. So that took a lot of work because honestly, I like being very detailed. So that was one of the challenges we were faced with. And as you can see, like the little cookies, the little battery, Nathaniel actually made the little animation, so he helped there. But yeah, it was actually pretty difficult. Even though it may not seem like it, it was pretty difficult to like lay out the level as Ralph over here and also Nathaniel made the little like landscape, the little like, I guess the little, I want to say template, but you get the idea with the platforms and everything. And well, even though it was like really exhausting, like even staying up like really late at night, it was actually fun making it.
So the details of this challenge were to make a 1-level game in the span of like a month, which was given to us. And that was really hard because we hadn't used Scratch before this, which is the website which our game is programmed on. And so in that 1 month, we were able to make this thing, thanks to our resident newbie over here who is new to like video games. Through her help, we were able to like fine tune it. So even like people who don't know anything could learn how to play this game as well. And we wanted to keep the theme super simple and kind of a bit cute. And the major aspect of this game is, if you can see in the top left, there's the battery bar, where if that runs out, that's when you lose the game. And you see the goal with that cookie monster over there is to find all the 3 cookies to get past him, and he's able to let you pass. And that is our game.
The board have any questions? So they competed against several other high schools. I think there was about 5 video games that were on display that day and
Yeah.
take through the presentation. Finished second, did very well, represented school in the district well, and thank you for that. I know I still can't quite figure out how to get past the main level, but we'll see. We'll get there one day. And we're gonna put the link on our district webpage if it's okay with the
Oh, yeah.
4 of you. So anybody that wants to play the game, not during math class, but you're welcome to jump on and see how you do. Thank you so much. And
Wait, I have one additional question.
Mhm.
When the cookie is way up at the top, I keep pushing jump, 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 and I never get up there. Is that all you do? You just sort of bounce off the wall and finally get up to the top?
That part of the game isn't like fully quite developed yet, but we've like,
I couldn't get up.
we plan to like have pushable blocks that the player will be able to push so that he's able to jump and reach that cookie
All right.
later.
All right. Sorry.
I'm not technologically, I'm actually technologically impaired. But when I got on the site, I was having so much fun, but I was so frustrated because I wanted that cookie so bad. I can't wait to try it again. Thank you for your hard work. Oh, I have hard enough time. I would never be able to buy it on the
Well,
App Store.
the version I originally played, the light kind of shrunk in from the edges on you, which was an incredible effect and very frustrating. So I commend you for that because as the batteries wore out, the flashlight got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and it made it harder to see the whole screen. And I found that brutally frustrating. So thank you.
Mhm.
For
I
the
mean,
demonstration, we wanted to take that part out just in case.
I thought it was brilliant. I was laughing the whole time because it was like, feel the frustration of the batteries dying and made like my anxiety go up and I had to go faster on the stairs and it made it harder to complete. So I thought it was well done. Very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kudos. And now if we could have our student representative report, please.
Hello, everyone. You guys can hear me, right? Okay. As of recently, Orriston High held the second semester club rush. This gives students the opportunity to promote their clubs a second time during the school year or start a new club, which is very exciting. One of the newly promoted clubs is Model United Nations, in which students will hold mock references and debates to advance their own fields regarding real world issues. And they will be able to like present speeches and stuff. So it gives an experience. We were also updated in terms of the senior prom, in which it will be held on May 6th, with the theme being masquerade, which is also very exciting because I don't think that's been a theme before for a while. To conclude, with the college admission decisions approaching steadfast on May 1st, most seniors are anticipating their acceptances and they will make the next steps for their future.
Thank you. And now we're going to have a discussion on the process of naming the Orriston Gymnasium or court for Mr. Posey.
I believe Edward has a slideshow he's going to put up there. So last month, we heard from community members who asked that we consider naming the gymnasium or court at Orriston High School after Carrie McWilliams. And I'm going to take you through the process of what that would look like here and maybe a timeline. And then if you have a discussion, doesn't require an action item, just kind of a discussion of yes, you would like to move forward with this process. And we can certainly get doing that. Board policy 7310 is what we're looking at when we name any of the district facilities, and the policy outlines that it can be on individuals, either living or deceased, or entities that have made an outstanding contribution to the school community, or individuals who have made statewide, national, or worldwide significance. And certainly that's what the committee would look at, the Citizens Committee would look like. The next slide shows the remainder or piece of the remainder of that policy, where it provides that a Citizen Advisory Committee shall be appointed to review the names, suggestions, and submit recommendations to the board for consideration. So that's the vehicle which a recommendation would come to. You would say, Mr. Posey, I want you to put together a Citizens Advisory Committee. I would get that committee together. We'd meet a couple times and then bring back a resolution for your consideration, if there is one. Presuppose it, but if there is one. So on that timeline tonight, what I'd like you to do is, as we get done with the next two slides here, consider that and ask, if you wish to form that advisory committee, looking specifically at the gymnasium or court or Orriston High School. The next couple of weeks, I'll put together that committee, this proposed timeline, and then would have maybe 2 meetings in April. They were public meetings, much like these board meetings, public meetings, and allow time for public comment and all of that. First one to hear the nominations and rationale, and then the second one to make discussions and recommendations, come up with that resolution and report back to you by the May 8th board meeting. So it's kind of an aggressive timeline, but we'd like to get this done. I also would, if the board on May 8th decides that it is in favor of it, if the committee decides, yes, we should do this, and the board decides they're in favor of it, I'd like to reach out to other organizations who may wish to endorse it, such as CIF themselves. And maybe I know Carrie, who's certainly going to be nominated for this, did a lot of years of great work in Patterson, and their board may want to join in that supporting of it. And it'd be nice for the display inside the gym to have multiple resolutions from multiple agencies. His impact went far beyond just our district, certain. When composing the committee, I believe the best committee composition is about 7 members. A student representative from the Orstemba Associated Student Body, more than likely Jolene, but I know she had to get somewhere tonight, and they can certainly pick whoever they wish from their student body officers. 2 members who are parents of existing students, 2 existing coaches of an Orstemba sport team, and 2 respected members of the Newman Crows Landing Diablo Grande community, I think would be a nice composition for the 7. And then I would serve strictly as a secretary to that committee and non-voting, just to kind of make sure they're following the right practices and procedures and staying on task to what they're to look at. That would be what I'd like to see in the committee and how I think the timeline would best honor the board policy and the nominee or nominees if they come up with more than that from more facilities, certainly bring them to you. At the conclusion of the committee, they would put together a resolution that would be ready for your approval on that May meeting. That would be the goal, where we discuss and have that. And up for discussion at this point.
Anyone want to make comments?
The only discussion or recommendation I would make, I think this is a good idea, but I think that we probably should publicize it in some way. And I was going to suggest maybe put a small ad in the newspaper or something saying, you know, the school board's putting together this committee and people from the community, if you're interested and want to have some input, this is the committee to contact. Just so people, you know what we're doing.
I think it's a great idea, as well as maybe hitting our normal Facebook social
Yeah,
pages,
sure.
Roseland, all those. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Lazar.
Anyone else? Any other comments?
I don't see this being a problem. It should support 100%. It should get it done ASAP if we can.
Okay.
Mr. Cabral. Yep. Great. Thank you. We'll start working on that tomorrow.
All right. Next on the agenda is the action item, consent calendar, the consent.
No.
Oh, second interim. I'm sorry, Ms. Mendoza. It's your turn.
Good evening. There we go. So the second interim wants to work. Second interim tracks all of the activity between July 1st through the end of January. It kind of is a mid-year update of where the district sits financially in all of its funds. I work in EMS. So things that we consider during second interim is any one-time funding that we're getting. We look at the average daily attendance and the enrollment trends. Are we growing? Are we not growing? And we look at what the governor put out in the January budget proposal.
Edward, can we get it on this screen as well? Thank you.
Okay, so when I usually look at the revenue as compared to the original budget and where we are now, so we can see that federal revenue has increased since budget adoption, and that part of that is through the way things are accounted for when we look at budgeting carryover from last year. Revenue we received but didn't necessarily spend last year. And then there were a couple of state programs that came online since the start of the budget year. So that's where the big differences come in. There were 2 new large programs that were awarded mid-year. So where is the money coming from? The LCFF changes several times throughout the year, looking at if there's any cost of living adjustment changes, if there are any significant attendance or unduplicated count changes, those will be reflected at the interim periods. And then there was some additional funding through the federal, which is one time, and so that will be through the end of next year, you'll see those fluctuations. And then we did have a couple of new state categorical programs, the art, music, instructional materials and discretionary block grant is a large one, and so is the learning recovery block grant one this year. Next slide. So we've had to plan for all the additional funding. You've seen these plans come before you in the last year or two. And then we also added for this meeting is the transportation plan. There is a little bit more transportation funding coming in the next few years, and districts were tasked to provide a plan, put together a plan for that. Basically, a lot of districts were not funded for transportation before, so they had to develop a plan from nothing. We basically just outline what we do and how we spend the money that goes toward transportation. So with all that planning, we can't get anywhere if we don't have a plan. Next slide. So for our expenditures, I do the same thing. I look at what we thought at the beginning of the year and where we are mid-year. So you can see capital outlay, we've doubled pretty much what we were going to do for capital outlay. A lot of that is HVAC. When we look at different projects, there's just different things have come up. With additional money, we can do additional projects. So that's where that went. Books and supplies is another thing because we had additional funding for some programs that we had to budget. That doesn't mean we'll necessarily spend all of that. It may get carried over to the following year. Just to note, these numbers do not include the settlements that were just approved or that will be approved later, because this is through the end of January and that didn't happen until late February. Next slide. So because of the reserve cap, because of the deposits that have been made to the reserve cap at the state level, we are now bound to have no more than 10% in our reserve. And the board passed a resolution back in September to designate funds beyond the 10%, that we don't have to spend it, but we do have to designate it a certain way. So we plan to limit the assigned and unassigned reserves to no more than 10% of the annual expenditures. So for the multi-year projection, you can see we're looking at probably about $63 million in revenue and about 56 million in expenditures. This is before adding the additional settlement costs into that. So that money will come from what we call the ending fund balance. So we have some things designated, some lottery money, and then we put in for the projected salary increases are part of the fund balance. So once those get moved up into the budget, that ending balance will go down. But we still have the 8% that we have to have for the board. And then the board commitments currently is about another 9%. So looking ahead for next year toward pension costs, we always look at what the effects of the state teacher retirement system and CalPERS are going to do. STRS looks like it's going to stay the same. So right now it's at 19.1%, which means for every $1 million of salary, $191,000 of that goes toward teacher pension. For PERS, which is for classified salaries, per $1 million right now, next year will be a $32,000 increase from 229,000 to 261,000 per million. And then next year will go up again. This year went up, and then next year will go up again. And 24-25 there is no cap on PERS. So we have not seen as high as it's going to go yet. So planning for next year, because this is the time of year we get into the budget season to plan for next year. The proposal for the statutory cost of living is a little over 8%. That's not the final number. We'll have to see where that comes in June, but that's what I'll plan for, until May, until we get the May revision out there. We get the May revise, and then when the governor adopts the budget in June, it may be different again. So they are fully funding the LCFF, and our unduplicated percent for next year is going to be around 75%. That meaning that 75% of our students will generate additional dollars toward the LCFF and those dollars need to be used for additional services. So looking at our LCFF, just at the LCFF next year, we're looking at about 43 million. So part of that, the additional funding that I was referring to is the supplemental and the concentration grant add-ons. So things that will impact next year is there's been a lot of discussion at the state level about the state tax revenue state is very dependent on. Right now, there's an extension for people to not file their taxes until October. So they won't know the final number for how much tax revenue they're gonna have until then. That's well into the new budget year. So my question is, can the proposed cost of living adjustment be fully funded without revenue deferrals, which will impact our cash flow? Right now, our cash flow is in a very positive position, but when they start to do revenue deferrals, then that makes things more challenging. The state has already said that would reduce the arts materials and discretionary block grants from our original allocation, which we haven't spent any of that yet. There is also the Prop 28 arts and music funding, which will be ongoing, but this one particular grant is a one-time grant. So we'll have to monitor our average daily attendance calculations through the new formulas, which will go through, I think, 24, 25. And that lets us use the highest level of 3 different options. And then the state revenue projections overall, which won't be entirely known. And so what I have heard so far is that education funding wouldn't be impacted. It would be other state programs, but if things get tight, then they will dip into the prop. And that is about all I have for this evening. Does anyone have any questions? Overall, we're in a very solid financial position.
And I really
now.
extend all my thanks to Mrs. Mendoza. She worked really hard on the second interim, this presentation, and you wouldn't even know she's doing it a person down in the department unless you try to catch her for a moment to have a conversation. Then you know she's working her tail off to get it done. So I really thank you for putting this together.
And now it's Ms. Conforti's job to nudge me whenever I miss something. Sorry. So action items, consent calendar. The consent calendar items are routine in nature and usually do not require board discussion. Individual items may be removed by board members and presented for discussion and separate action. The consent calendar will be adopted by a roll call vote. Mr. Bazar.
Wait a minute.
Oh, I need a motion. Okay. I don't have that. Did you get it?
Second, Mr.
All right, now that we've had the motion and the second, Mr. Bazar. Ms. Conforti. Mr. Rivas. Mr. Cabral. And I vote aye. So it's approved. The next one will be to approve that second interim budget report. I need a motion. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Huh?
I said aye.
Oh, okay. Nays. Abstentions. Okay, passes. Number 3, approval of Newman Crows Landing Unified School District Transportation Plan. So, and Mrs. Mendoza.
In your packet, you have a copy of the transportation plan. Basically just outlines the services that we've always provided and that we will continue to provide, and the amount of money that the state is apportioning for us starting next year.
Okay, could I have a motion?
I move approval.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? No abstentions. Passes. What? Went from. Okay, resolution number 22-23/12, non-reelection of certificated employee number 34839. So do I have a motion for that or? Okay, thank you. Did you get? We'll need a roll call. Okay, Mr. Bazar, Mr. Rivas, Mr. Cabral, Mrs. Conforti. Aye. And Mrs. Hurst votes aye. Next is a resolution number 22-23/13, non-reelection of certificated employee number 35864. Could I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Do we need a roll call on that or? I think
Do we need a roll call? Roll call. Okay. Mr. Bazar,
Aye.
Mr. Cabral,
Aye.
Mr. Rivas, Mrs. Conforti,
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst votes aye. Okay, resolution number 22-23/14, classified management layoff, behavior intervention case manager, BICM, and Mr. Smith will be speaking to that.
Members of the board, this evening, I have before you a request for a layoff. Layoffs, obviously, in the state of California are taken if there's a lack of work or a lack of funds. In this instance, we have a lack of work. We have found that the district has needed the shift with the increase of additional programs to work exclusively with the BCBA position, which is a board certified behavior certificate that is necessary moving forward, whereas the behavior intervention case manager job classification is no longer relevant based upon these needs. And so therein lies the lack of work.
Could I get a motion for that?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Before you leave, Ms. Forty.
Aye.
Mr. Bazar,
Aye.
Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Cabral.
Aye.
And Mrs. Hurst says aye. Okay, approval number 7 of unpaid study leave of absence for classified employee number 35386.
Members of the board, this is a study leave request. Classified employees under the collective bargaining agreement may request a study leave request either to pursue certification in some way, shape, or form through vocational education or higher education for your institution. And so the employee 35386 has requested a 6-month study leave request for the spring 2023 semester to attend college for their morning position. This particular employee holds more than one classified position with our district, and they have formally requested that they have the spring 2023 semester available to them. And so with your approval, the recommendation is stated.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
We still need a motion.
I'll motion. I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? All right, number 8 is the approval of the NCLTA and NCLUSD 2022-2023 successor agreement. Do we have anyone speaking?
I'm more than happy to speak on behalf of the district to let the board know that we, over the course of well over a year, we've been able to sit down with our labor partners in NCLTA, and we've reached a tentative agreement that has recently been ratified, and it has been presented before you for your consideration this evening.
May I have a motion?
Yes, I'll move approval of the number 8, the accessory agreement for NCLTA and NCLUSD.
And a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? It passes. Number 9, approval of the 2022-2023 classified management salary schedule.
So items 9 through 11 is extending the same terms of the item 8 to all the non-represented employees in the district.
Okay, I need a motion for number 8 or number 9.
I'll motion.
Second,
I'll second. Okay.
you got it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Nay. Abstentions. Okay, number 10, approval of the 2022-2023 certificated management salary schedule. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. No nays. Any abstentions? That passes. Number 11, approval of 2022-2023 superintendent salary schedule. Motion,
I'll motion.
second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Any abstentions? Passes. Number 12, approve the Orristemba High School special event at the McConnell Center.
Orristemba High School, Clark is putting this together, is going to do a sip and paint here in the kitchen, so no spill happens out here. Yeah, okay, we'll work on that. We'll talk, Clark. And they're following all the board policies to do such a thing and board approval for it.
Could I have a motion
I'll make a motion.
and a second?
I'll
get a
second.
free ticket.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? None. Abstentions? None. Passes. Future agenda items, Administrative Professionals Day, School Nurses Day, Classified Employee Week, Day of the Teacher, and the Superintendent's Report.
Thank you. First, congratulations to our staff and faculty at Orristemba High School. They completed the WASC visit last week, and that's a really intensive process with a self-study that takes an eternity to put together, and then a visiting team that comes and validates everything you put inside of self-study. The team enjoyed their stay. They enjoy getting to know our students, which is no surprise to best students. And they were really impressed with what they saw, with a lot of positive comments, and appropriately a lot of areas they think we can strengthen. So we're in the process now this week of putting together an action plan of what we will do to meet those recommendations. They don't tell you what the accreditation will be for, what the term of the accreditation. We'll find that out after our action plan goes back to WASC. They get the recommendation from the visiting team, and they send us a note. It usually takes a few weeks. So, but it's a lot of work, and thank them for completing that. Friday, 8:30 a.m. at Von Renner starts the World Cup 2023 tournament, 5th grade edition. If you have a chance to come out, it's absolutely fabulous. The students are incredible, and it's really a school-wide event. It's real fun. It's the opening ceremony at 8:30 in the morning at Von Renner. I attended some CIF meetings this last month to try to address our placement in the Trans Valley League. And despite the Kerlock Journal swearing that I was trying to wiggle out of something, I guess I didn't wiggle enough. Says I finally got an explanation from the section office that our placement in the TVL was strictly based on the fact that we were the most competitive using their statistical analysis in the Southern League. And they needed 2 teams to come up from the Southern League. So us and Ripon Christian came up because we are the 1 and 2 competitive team. It's a system we're probably going to need to get used to because it looks like CIF is on the path to moving to a conference model where every 2 years they'll readjust the league sport by sport based on the top 2 competitive going bottom competitive going down. So it's we will be there. It will be challenging. We are warriors. We will rise to the occasion. We're having meetings with varsity coaches later. I think it's actually later next month. We try to find a day when everybody was off, and it's hard to do with varsity coaches to kind of talk about what we need to do to make sure our students are competitive when we join this league, because it certainly is they called it the juggernaut in the state, this new league. I want to thank the Teachers Association for successful negotiations. It's always good when feeling both sides feeling good about the agreement, and both sides represented themselves very well throughout negotiations, and I want to thank them for that culture. We did also this month some online training for your board agendas, where in the near future, next year, I think we're going to start it, or next month, there we go. This won't be paper, it'll be online, and you can follow along. And best part about it is all the board policies will be online and searchable by, that happens over the summer, but searchable by a keyword. So if you want to know every board policy that had the word negotiation in it, you could type that in and it would show it to you. So it's really a powerful way to search our board policy. That's happening over the summer. I attended the Occupational Olympics in Turlock. Congratulations to all of our competitors. I know we had our silver medalist here today, but we had a really good showing at robotics, and I got to watch a student shake some fake trees or some pretend trees with a shaker as he drove a shaker and did an obstacle course with a forklift. And our ag floral competed in plant identification. And I just thought identified plants by saying that's a blue one, that's a red one. They were showing me all the stuff that they did. And we had a really good showing in all of our occupational Olympic categories. And then Mr. Smith, thank you. Here, the agenda tonight had your resignation on it. I know you're headed to Waterford next year, and they're not in our league anymore, so I can root for them along with you. But thank you for your work, and I know it'll continue throughout this year. But appreciate not just your work professionally, but the friendship we have and the advice you give me. So thank you. And that's my report.
And then the board reports, Mr. Bizarre.
I heard our student rep, and it reminded me last year when one of my children was going through it, that our students are all now hearing or about to hear from colleges. That's a nervous time, but I know you'll all do well wherever you choose to attend. I think I mentioned this last time, but honestly, in looking how our kids do when they go off to college, I think a lot of them are nervous about it, but we do very well. We have a lot of successes in this community, and we should be very proud of the way that people perform in college when they leave here. So for any of you who are about to hear or have already heard, congratulations. Don't worry, you're going to do great things in your next aspect of life.
Mr. Rivas.
I just have a question for Mr. Posey. Any plans about the raccoon nest?
Yes, we're in proposal with Huff Constructions. They'll put the plans together. DSA will have to approve them, and then we can begin demoing. There has to be a 5-year tether between the two projects, but that fits in our timeline just fine. So it'll probably still be about 8 or 9 months to get through DSA, but we are diligently working for that as soon as possible. Thank you. The raccoon nest, Mr. Coe, being your lovely portables at Von Renner. We're bulldozers are lasered on them right now. They're coming. Just going to be a little bit.
And then also Mr. Bizarre said for the seniors, your senior interviews are coming up. Just be yourselves. Don't be nervous. I cannot say I'll be on the panel. I don't know if I am. Good luck.
Okay, Mr. Cabral.
Nothing tonight, ma'am. Nothing.
Okay, Mrs. Conforti had to leave early, and so that's why I'm sitting in this seat. And as I said, she was nudging me, but I really thought that one of the two new gentlemen should have done the job tonight. They probably would have done a better job.
It falls on the clerk.
Yes, it is. The game was wonderful. And I don't know if you've ever heard about the old Miss game. Yes, I was very reluctant to start playing a game like that. And then I was up all night long for nights, playing it. So games are wonderful and challenge the mind. I got to go to the WASC couple of the meetings and the final report. I'm very pleased with the positive things, and yet we have work to do. And so that's the way things usually happen. I'm trying to remember his last name because he's my neighbor kid, but Mr. Romero, who won the Rotary speech contest, went on to the next level and won that one. And so I told him yesterday as he was bouncing his basketball along, this weekend he goes to the next level and we hope that he makes that. So for those of you who are at a younger grade than what he's at, you want to start early with all these speech contests that are out there and available, because you can win big bucks to go to college. And since it costs so much, you can help your parents out. Every student succeeding, I thank you so much for that. Okay. And every time I go to one of those breakfasts, whether it's for our staff or teachers or students or anything else, I am just always so duly impressed. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Finally, last but not least, we went to see 13, the musical. Yes, and they came before us at the last board meeting and did a scene, and it was wonderful. And I keep watching our students, and I mean, they must count over and over again as they're blocking, because I mean, they're walking backwards in the dark, and I'm thinking, okay, and they make it. And so they were wonderful. They were talented. It was a pleasure to watch, and having a good table with us too. So those who are going on, as it's been echoed here, I remember going on to the community college and I was so scared to death. And I thought, this place is so big, and then I went on to the university and that place was really big. But what you want to make certain you do, you're going in as a number. Don't stay a number. Become a face. Get to know your instructors. Bother the heck out of them if you want to. I mean, that's why they have office hours. And let them get to know you as a person and enjoy it for those going on. And for those just going into the workforce, I wish you luck. Anyone going into the military, I wish them luck too. So there's so many different options that people can do. And so just enjoy yourselves in life. And with that, okay, we adjourn. Have a great rest of the week.